All right, so this is the second video for our semester exam review over key features of linear functions. There are 6 questions over this. I'm not gonna do all of them because I want to leave you some to do on your own, but I kind of want to walk through some kind of important things. Remember, our key features are slope, y-intercept, x-intercept. Yeah, those are pretty much them. Writing the equations in various forms, things like that. Okay, so our key features are primarily those things, okay? Okay, so if we look at, let's start with number 11. I'm going to do number 11 through 14 with you, and we're going to talk about the different things about our key features here. So number 11, it says, what is the slope of the line? So remember, when I want to find slope, I need to pick 2 points and rise and run between them. Since I also have to identify the x-intercept and y-intercept for this question, and in any case, my intercepts are good numbers. If I can see the intercepts clearly, they are good points to use for my rise and run, okay, because I can move between them, okay. For this one right here, I'm going to fall 3 and run 5. So remember, my slope is rise over run. My slope is -3 over 5, all right. Now, the y-intercept is on the y-axis, okay? So if I'm looking for my y-intercept, I should be looking at the y-axis. My y-intercept is where the line crosses my y-axis, and it crosses at 0, 3, okay? Now remember, when I have my intercepts, my y-intercept starts with 0, my x-intercept ends with 0. Another thing they might say instead of x-intercept is they might call it a 0. Remember, a 0 ends with 0. I'm a Deal. My last name is Deal. My first name is Maggie. I'm Maggie Deal. This person is something 0. Since its last name is 0, we call it one of the zeros. Okay, we call it the 0. Now, the 0 on this one, it crosses my x-axis. Since I'm looking for an x-intercept or a 0, I'm going to be looking at the x-axis, and it crosses the x-axis at 5, 0. Okay. Now, it says, what is the value of the function when x equals 10? So what that means is I'm going to look at x equals 10 right here and see what the y value is. Well, the y value is -3 because the coordinate is 10, -3. The y value, the value of the function means what is y. So when you see value of the function, they mean what is y. And the same thing up here. For what value of x does the function equal 9? The function equals 9 means y equals 9. Okay? All right, let's take a look at number 15. Okay, 15 here says, determine the slope of the line that passes through the points 8, 4, and 0, 1. So there's a couple of ways I can do this, okay? I can just make a little table, -8, -4, and 0, -1. Okay, I'm going to make a table anyway, but the method I'm going to use is I'm going to use my calculator. Okay, now, of course, I could do the slope formula, which would be, and this is x and y, by the way. I could do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I could do that. Or I could go to stat, okay, and I could put these values. Now, I like to put them in a table before because it makes it easier for me to enter them here. -8, 0, and then I'm going to do -4, -1. I want to make sure that that this looks like my table and also that it looks like the points. I have a point at -8, -4, and 0, -1. Then I'm going to do stat, calc, 4. I hit enter a bunch of times, and it tells me that A equals 0.375. And it says that B is -1. So I could technically write myself an equation. Y equals 0.375x minus 1. Now, what if they give me this and it's not, and they don't give me a fraction? Well, I can, let's say my answer choice is a fraction. So I could stick that fraction. I could do top divided by bottom and see what it matches. I could also put 0.375 and do math, enter, enter. What? Oh, I'm sorry, 0.375. I did the same thing, didn't I? That is so weird. And then do math, enter, enter, and it gives me 3/8. So the answer is, the slope is 0.375 or 3/8. Okay, and again, I could do plus 3 plus 8 and get 3/8. Okay? But if you feel weird about these fractions, about these integers, you know, you have choices. Okay? Let's move on. I'm going to let you do these two by yourselves because I feel like you should be able to find them. But when they say it costs Richard anything per, anytime you see something per, they're asking you for the slope. Okay? If they said to you, how much money did he initially spend? If they talk about initial, what was his initial value? So like here, then you would say, well, 10. So it costs him $10 plus however much per month. So if they were asking you for the initial value or how much you started with, they'd be asking for the y-intercept. Whenever you see per, they're asking for slope. Okay? And then same thing here. Flat fee is like also a y-intercept. Okay, so let's do this. I'm going to do this one with you, but I'm not going to do the other one. I'm going to do parts of it. Okay? Actually, I'm not going to do any of this. You should be able, what I want you to see though is that all these, so 20 through 24 go with this graph, 25 through 29 go with the other one. So when they ask you about the slope, remember, this is the line they're talking about. This line right here, that's the line. They want to know the slope of that line. Okay? Remember what kind of line it is. You might be thinking about our friend Hoybucks. But whatever. All right. Identify 3 points on the line. What do you notice about them? Is it parallel to the x-axis? Is it perpendicular? What is it? Parallel, perpendicular to the x, and parallel, perpendicular to the y. Remember, parallel means it runs alongside. They have the same slope. Perpendicular means they have reciprocal opposite slope, or that they intersect in at a right angle. Okay. I also want to talk to you briefly about transformations. I think I actually included transformations somewhere else because I forgot that we even had one. I believe there is a transformation question, and it's right here. This is our review. But here's what I want you to remember: if it's a horizontal change goes left to right. It's inside your parentheses, and it's opposite what you expect. Okay? So like, for example, let's say they moved this thing to the right 5. Let's say they moved it to here so that the line was going like this now. Okay? If they move it to the right, so that looks like it's going to be plus 5, but it's actually minus 5. Okay? And I know you're probably confused because we didn't do this, did we? It didn't look like this. But remember, if it's inside the parentheses, it's a horizontal change. If it's outside the parentheses, it's a vertical change. Okay, so vertical would be up and down. It would be outside. Okay, so if you don't see parentheses, you have all vertical changes happening. And it looks exactly, I don't know what to say, it's not opposite. It's not opposite. Okay, so for example, let's say we had shifted this one up 6. Okay, so I would say f of x plus 6. It's outside the parentheses, it's shifted up 6, and since it's vertical change, it does exactly what it looks like it's going to do. We can talk more about this one in class. I know this is like super weird, but, you know, it looks different than the way we learned it, but, you know, there it is. If you have any more questions, let me know.